Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Minnesota.
Welcome to Seattle and T-Mobile Tuesday Night Baseball. Tonight it's game number 2 of this 4-game series between the Twins and the Seattle Mariners. And after getting most of the night off last night, All-Star catcher Kurt Suzuki back in the starting lineup, back behind the plate tonight for Ron Gardenhire's Twins. He'll bat third. At the top of that order, the newest member of the Home Run Derby, Brian Dozier, very pumped to be a part of that experience at Target Field next week. And on the mound tonight, a pair of right-handers both looking for their 9th win of the season. For Minnesota, it'll be Phil Hughes. And for Seattle, the 6'10" monster, Chris Young. Welcome inside Safeco Field on another picture-perfect night for baseball. The Twins will try to break out of their offensive slump against a Seattle team that's pitching very, very well. As I mentioned, both pitchers tonight have 8 wins on the season, but recently both pitchers have their seasons going in different directions. Phil Hughes, after a very solid stint in his last 3, has been very, very hittable. ERA up over 8. He had a very good bullpen session, according to Rick Anderson, this week. He'll look to get back on track tonight, but never a lot of room for error against the Seattle Mariners. As I mentioned, Chris Young gets the call tonight. He is 6'10", very live ball. You can see his numbers in his last 4 starts. 3-0 with an ERA below 1.5. Like every Seattle pitcher, seems to be going very, very well right now. So certainly a challenge for the Minnesota Twins to score some runs tonight here at Safeco Field. And the recipe for success offensively and breaking out comes your way next with our analyst, Roy Smalley. He'll show you how the Twins can break out and beat the M's tonight.
Baseball on Fox Sports North is presented by Menards. Save big money on all your home improvement needs at Menards. And by Chrysler, imported from Detroit. Welcome to All-Star Week here on Fox Sports North. Tonight, the Twins continue a 4-game series with the Seattle Mariners as Game 2 comes to you live from Safeco Field. Another beautiful night for baseball here in Seattle. Dick Bramer and Roy Smalley bringing you Game 2 between the Twins and the Mariners. We all know that the Twins miss Danny Santana. We all know that they miss Joe Mauer. But unless one or both of them get back into the lineup, and until that happens, the Twins lineup simply needs to find a way to get some runs scored.
They really do. They have been in a team-wide slump here. You can see just not scoring any runs. The batting average down. They're not hitting with no damage. There's no slugging percentage at all to speak of. And this is up and down the lineup, really. They're big guys in the middle. Mauer hurt. Willingham and Kendrys Morales not swinging the bats well. And so that leaves it to some relatively inexperienced hitters. And so, in my opinion, here's what you need to do to try to get out of it as a team. Keep working hard. Tom Brunansky's Charges are hard-working guys. They spend hours in the cage every day. Keep working on those in those practice sessions. But then when you get in a game, just take one at bat at a time. If it doesn't work the first time, forget about it. Go up there, work on it the next time. And remember, each at bat is important. You don't want to give them away. They're important, but not dire. It's not critical. The world's not going to end. Relax. Have fun. There's nothing better in the world than playing baseball in the big leagues. Go up there, and if you have to, swing hard in case you hit it.
That was the Mall of America scouting report. As we get ready for Game 2, we got Kurt Suzuki back in the starting lineup. He'll represent the Twins at the All-Star game, and we hope to see Glenn Perkins picking up a save by game's end.
Officially heard it. Bautista gave me a ring this morning, so it's pretty cool. You know, he's something you always kind of watch as a kid growing up and stuff, and have the opportunity to do it, especially at Target Field, do it in front of home fans and stuff. It's should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's good. I know he's really excited. I know having his brother throw to him, he's really excited about that. I've actually done that. I've thrown BP to Morneau, and when they pull the cages away and the stadium's full and there's all those ball players sitting around home plate, I hope his brother can reach home plate. So it ought to be real exciting for him. And, it's there's a little bit of pressure there. I think Doge will be fine, and I think it's going to be a great moment for him.
Hitting a home run against Justin Verlander, David Price, no big deal. But can you hit one against your brother with the nation watching, the world watching? And Ron Gardenhire said it was nerve-wracking for him when he had to pitch to Justin Morneau years ago in the home run hitting contest. And the Menards batting order for the Twins in Game 2. Team leader in home runs, Brian Dozier leading things off. Then Eduardo Nunez, Twins all-star Kurt Suzuki hitting third. Kendrys Morales, Josh Willingham, Oswaldo Arcia, Chris Colabello, Eduardo Escobar, and Sam Fuld.
And on the mound for the Mariners, big, tall right-hander Chris Young has pitched very, very well for the Mariners this year. As you can see, 206 batting average. Very, very respectable ERA for the amount of innings he's pitched. And is interesting about this guy, he throws high fastballs a lot. Not really hard, 87, 88, 89, they say. But gets away with high fastballs. We'll see if the Twins hitters can get him down in the zone.
Well, of course, that's kind of how Phil Hughes goes about his business, too. He throws a lot of high fastballs, but he's got a little more.
With about 6 miles an hour more. Oof.
It'll be Dozier, then Nunez, and Suzuki. The Twins have hit the skids here in July. Haven't played well, really, over the last several weeks. 10 games below the 500 mark. Would like to get a little bit of traction and at least get into the All-Star break with a little stability. See what Dozier and the Twins can get done here. There's a high fastball, ball one. There are 4 members of both the American and National League teams named to the home run derby. Dozier one of the 4 so far. Each league team will name one more, and it might be after, coincidentally or not, after the extra man vote is compiled. Here's a blast to left field. That ball's hit well, but on the edge of the track, reaching up and pulling it down as Ackley one away. Northland Ford defense for the Mariners. It's Ackley in left, James Jones in center, and Michael Saunders in right. Kyle Seager representing the Mariners in the All-Star game. So too Robinson Cano. Brad Miller's at short, Logan Morrison at first, and Mike Zunino behind the plate. There's a scenario out there regarding the home run derby where Dozier, if he could go through and get to the final round, he might face Justin Morneau in the finals, because Morneau is the leader right now in the extra man vote, and he's already said if he gets named to the All-Star team, he would love to participate in the home run derby at Target Field. There's a solid stroke to left by Nunez, and the Twins have hit a couple of balls hard here early against Young.
Good aggressive swing there by Eduardo Nunez, and also by Dozier, hitting the ball a long ways to left field. Nunez, very, very smart hitter, makes the ball be down there, doesn't go after a high fastball, but get it down in the zone, because down there at 85, 86, 87, not nearly as effective for the pitcher. So make him come down. Don't be swinging at that high fastball.
And here is Kurt Suzuki hitting third, keeping his batting average a few points over the 300 mark throughout, and now over 250 at bats. And Nunez on the very first pitch takes off and steals easily. Talking before the game, I would guess 3 hours before game time, Nunez was talking with Paul Molitor about the starting pitcher's time to home plate. And Molitor, by the time Nunez had showed up at the ballpark, had already picked apart Young's delivery to the plate, knew that he was kind of slow to the plate, and Nunez wasted no time at all. 1 strike to Suzuki. And now strike 2.
That's a slow delivery to the plate, and I'm sure Paul Molitor was timing that. There is a certain amount of time, usually if anything over 1.5 seconds from first move to the ball hitting the catcher's glove. They feel like if you just get a reasonable jump on, and the pitcher's 1.5 or above, 1.5 seconds or above, you can steal it. That's exactly what Nunez did. Pretty good jump, not a great one, but again, watch how slow. That's about as fast as it's going to be right there on the steal. He was even a little bit slower than that. So good advanced planning.
1-2 to Suzuki. And a little pop up wide of first and foul ground. Morrison with the catch, 2 down. Twins got 10 hits against Young and 7 extra base hits at Target Field.
You know, you live by the sword and you die by the sword. He's a high fastball pitcher, and when the ball is thrown up there, it can go out of the ballpark or off the fence or in between and off the lot. Of course, Brian Dozier is a good high fastball hitter.
Dozier just missed hitting another home run against Young in the first inning, and now Kendrys Morales with the Twins in need of a 2-out hit. Strike 1 over the inside corner.
You know, it's so funny. Even guys that throw hard, the mantra in Major League Baseball is keep the ball down, keep the ball down. And Chris Young throws 85, 86, 87 miles an hour, and he pitches high for the most part. It's really unusual.
Out front with a changeup, and it's 0-2.
And that will be an effective pitch if he keeps showing them high fastballs and then mixes in a changeup. That will be an effective pitch. Not only is the change of pace off the fastball good, but also changes the hitter's eye angle.
2 strikes to Morales. Popped up, and it's backing out of play. Young, the second Seattle pitcher to check in at 6 feet 10 inches. Randy Johnson, of course, the other.
And there's about 12 miles an hour difference in those two. I don't care if they are the same height.
0-2 to Morales. And he waits on the changeup and fouls it back. Morales last year played here in Seattle, had a good year. Hit in the middle of the Seattle lineup, had a productive year. Seattle seems to be a bat short this year and might be in search of someone like Morales, if not Morales himself, before the trading deadline passes. Foul back again.
Yeah, I think the Mariners have made tremendous strides as a ball club and an organization, putting a pretty competitive club on the field this year, mainly because of that pitching staff that they have, starters and relievers both, and adding Robinson Cano, Kyle Seager becoming an all-star. But I think you're right, Dick. I think they are at least 1 bat, if not 2 bats short of challenging the likes of the Oakland A's and California Anaheim Angels.
Foul back, another 2-strike foul. Morales hanging tough. As underwhelming as Young's stuff is, he's approaching 100 innings. He's got 99 innings right now and 55 strikeouts. So he finds a way somehow to pick up 2 strikeouts every 3 innings. Up to Morales, now 1-2.
It doesn't happen often, but there are guys that pitch in the big leagues that get away with throwing high fastballs. One thing that helps is Jim Palmer was one, but Jim Palmer had a lot of life and velocity on that fastball, had a big overhand curveball to complement that. There are guys with lesser stuff. Paul Molitor told me today, this guy Chris Young reminds me of a right-handed Jim Deshaies. Remember him? And
yeah.
Get away with throwing high fastballs. Another guy that was amazingly frustrating and would get away with it, Scotty McGregor with the Orioles. Little left-hander, threw the ball stomach high to everybody, and guys kept popping it up. It was amazing. So that has to do with their delivery. With Scotty McGregor, he was a very herky-jerky, funny delivery sort of guy. Chris Young here with the Mariners, big, tall guy, strides a long way toward the plate, has kind of a deceptively long stride, and that may have something to do with how he gets away with it.
The left center field, chased by Jones, and the Twins leave Nunez at second base. No score after a half inning. good friends. Gardy saying today he's really happy McClendon's got a chance to manage again. Was once a manager of the Pirates. Here's the Seattle batting order. Michael Saunders leading off. Then James Jones, Robinson Cano, Kyle Seager, Logan Morris, and Corey Hart. Dustin Ackley, Mike Zunino, and Brad Miller.
And Phil Hughes on the mound for the Minnesota Twins will try to get back to his winning ways in dominant fashion, the way he was for 7, 8, 9 starts. Just outstanding. He's run into a little bit of trouble the last couple of starts, but has the stuff to be able to shut down this Mariner lineup. So we'll see if he's got it back and has command.
It'll be Saunders, Jones, and Cano. Has pitched very well here at Safeco Field. 4-0 with a 0.82 ERA. And he delivers strike one to Saunders. And there's a high fastball at 92. 1-1. You put Hughes' numbers together for the last 3 starts, and they're not very pretty. When in reality, only the 1-3 starts ago was a bad start. 5 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs against the White Sox. He still got the win. In his start against the Texas Rangers on June 28th, a run in the second, a run in the third, and then a bunch of zeros until the Rangers got 3 more on him in the 8th inning, and there's a called third strike, 1 away. In his last start against the Yankees, 4 perfect innings. 4 nearly perfect innings. He got 12 outs from 12 batters, and then the Yankees put 4 up on him in the 5th inning. The Northland Ford defense for the Twins: Willingham in left, Fold in center, RCA in right, Nunez, Escobar, Dozier, Colabello, Suzuki behind the plate. So I guess in a nutshell, you could say Hughes was pitching well in Texas and started off dominant against the Yankees, and then that 4-run 5th kind of spoiled the whole day for him.
And against the Yankees, he really was pitching well, but just got behind a couple of guys. They ambushed him a little bit. They know he throws a lot of strikes. And so the middle of that Yankee order in the 5th inning to which you refer, Dick, Ellsbury jumped on the first pitch, and Teixeira jumped on the first pitch as Jones slaps one foul down the left field line. But for singles, they jumped right on that first pitch fastball that they knew they were going to get, and then he fell behind 3-1 or 2-0 to Beltran. And of course, Carlos Beltran hit 365 home runs in his career. He knows what to do with a fastball when he sees it and he's looking for it.
Line to left, Willingham stays with it, makes the catch, 2 away. With Robinson Cano at the plate, he is tonight's T-Mobile game changer since 2010. From the ranks of offensive production, there has been no one better at second base. A lot of really good, really productive second basemen, but at the very top of the list, Robinson Cano.
Just one terrific player. He's beautiful, beautiful gliding, striding stroke at the plate, fast hands, great hitting mechanics, terrific second baseman, very athletic, and through it all, looks like he's hardly even paying attention. He's just so relaxed and confident.
On a loop down the left field line, and that'll twist back in the seats. Remember when he started with the Yankees, Jim Cott, of course, great Twin Hall of Famer, but also a great broadcaster, was doing Yankee games, and he made some comparisons early in Cano's career, already back then, to Rod Carew in his early years. And the ball slapped to left, and this one's going to stay fair, and Willingham will backhand it and hold Cano to a single. Nice little play by Willingham, keeping Cano to a single. But one of the comparisons Jim made is we get another look at Cano's single to left. And it's almost a curse, I suppose, for a player when you can excel when it seems effortless to you. And in Rod's case, whether it was his running style or whatever, it just seemed to come easy to him.
He was that kind of personality and demeanor on the field as well, absolutely. And even the hitting style a little bit, Cano's hitting style a little reminiscent of or mindful of Rodney's. He starts with his head way back. He doesn't crouch like Rodney does, but glides into the ball very much the way Rod does. And what it really looks similar is the way their hands through the big end of the bat through the zone. And Cano certainly does that.
Here's Seager taking a strike. That's a little pop fly, and Nunez will do the right thing and just let it hit in fair territory and spin foul. Wasn't going to be able to catch it on the fly and let it hit the dirt and kick to the left.
And he knew it had a lot of spin on it going that direction off the hands like that. So that was the right play. There wasn't going to be any play to be made on that ball.
2 strikes in the top of the first. Young pitched around a 1-out single by Nunez, left him at second base. And now Hughes will try to leave Cano at first. There, Hughes with another called third strike. 2 strikeouts, both of them called third strikes. And a scoreless first inning here in Seattle with Josh Willingham ready to start the second. Last night, the Twins sent Ricky Nolasco back to the Twin Cities to have an MRI. Structurally, the elbow is fine, but it's sore. So in our Sanford Health injury report, we can tell you that Nolasco's been put on the 15-day disabled list. Chris Herman, if he's not in Seattle right now, is on his way. So the Twins will go back to 12 pitchers, and presumably into the All-Star break, we'll have 4 bench players available to them. Josh Willingham taking a strike from Chris Young. Willingham, Arcia, and Colabello here in the Twins' second. And strike 2. Young, a baseball star and basketball star at Princeton University. Up high, 1-2. Bounced around a lot. Some major injury issues a year ago. Won a battle in spring training for the bottom end of the Seattle rotation. Half swing, I think he went. No, says first base umpire Gabe Morales. From up here, it looked like Willingham's wrists broke. At any rate, it's 2-2.
Watching Chris Young's delivery, and I will tell you one thing: he hesitates on his back foot a long time.
Stroke foul.
He takes and what that does is it keeps lengthening his stride out with his front leg, and it's really unusual. You see a lot of guys, you know, Bert Blyleven talks about getting the balance point and everything comes all at once, and if you watch his delivery, he pushes a long time off of that back leg. His front leg really stretches out as he throws a little breaking ball and catches Josh looking. But you see a long time on that back leg and throws a little change up. But watch his delivery. Watch how long he stays and pushes and how long his stride is, and then still is able to come over the top with it. I think that has to have something to do with how he gets away with 86-mile-an-hour high fastballs. I think it's just very, very deceiving to the hitter.
Here's Arcia, a couple of hits, including the only extra base hit for the Twins last night, and he takes ball one. And today, Ron Gardenhire talking about Arcia trying to retool his swing and trying to create more backswing. Now, for 99
backspin on the ball, yep.
Yeah. For 99% of us who ever tried to play, we had all we could do to make contact. But he's talking about balls like that leave home plate with a lot of hook, or in the case of his single yesterday, a ball hit very hard. Couldn't hit it any harder, but he hit it with topspin, and the ball landed in front of the right fielder. You guys are that good that you can control the spin of the ball off the bat? Well, that.
You can't control it, but you can work to develop a swing that leads to hitting down through the middle and bottom part of the ball, which generates backspin, as opposed to hitting from kind of underneath the ball so the contact is made over the top of the baseball. And Arcia drops his hands a little bit as he strides and then swings a little bit from underneath. So when he squares it up, it can go a long ways, but it can also generate a lot of topspin. He's working on that. There's it from a little bit underneath right there.
A strikeout, pair of strikeouts already in the second. That'll bring up Colabello.
Let's see, Oswaldo's hands go down right there, and then he has to swing up at it a little bit. And it makes the big end come into the zone quickly and then out of the zone. See his hands drop right there? The bat head is not staying on the same plane of the ball for very long. And what they're trying to work on is keeping his hands high into the ball so that the big end of the bat comes at the ball for longer through the zone and then generates backspin, exactly what Gardy was talking about.
Colabello with a foul back. I remember seeing newsreel footages, and when I was very young, I don't remember it, but I think the first game I ever saw in the big leagues was in St. Louis. I think I saw one of Stan Musial's last games for the Cardinals. There's a towering fly ball to left. Ackley, Jones, either one can catch it. It's Ackley with the catch. In a 1-2-3 second inning, Chris Young picking up a couple of strikeouts. No score in Seattle.
second. Rick Anderson, Twins pitching coach, spoke with me earlier today about Phil Hughes and that recent struggle, those last 3 starts, ERA over 8. Dick Bramer talked about it earlier, guys. His stuff has been good. It's been the same Phil Hughes we've seen throughout most of the season. He's developed into one of the best pitchers on this staff, but he's running that big inning, and when he gets into a situation, he's lost some confidence, and he's let certain situations get to him. So Rick Anderson's worked him with a mental approach. Nothing really physically wrong with the way he's been pitching. In fact, he had a terrific bullpen session this week in preparation for this start, but Rick Anderson said it's between the ears. He's got to focus in and understand that it's not going to be perfect every single night, and understand that you can give up a run or two, but stay away from the 3, 4, and 5 inning runs.
Thank you, Kevin. A pitch fouled down the left field line, and a one right behind it, 0-2 quickly. Well, he's had a bit of a challenge in his mound opponents, too. He's been going up against some pretty good guys. Yu Darvish in Texas, Tanaka against in his start against the Yankees. 2 strikes to Logan Morrison, and Suzuki tried to steal strike 3. It's 1-2.
And you mentioned those guys that Phil Hughes has opposed. This lineup has opposed those guys too. And
right.
We talk about their lack of run production, and they ran up against Tanaka and Darvish and Iwakuma, and pretty good stuff being thrown at these young Twins hitters, and they're not doing that. They're not doing that badly. They're coming along.
1-2 to Morrison. Hart and Ackley will follow. A little bit less of a daunting pitching matchup for Hughes. Chris Young's done really well, and particularly as of late for the Mariners, but there's strike 3. Suzuki with a block, and he completes the strikeout with a throw to Colabello. Third strikeout already for Phil Hughes, 1 away in the second.
That's the pitch I like right there. I like it when he mixes in that slower curveball to go with the hard fastball and hard cutter. Kurt Suzuki blocking that pitch as he always does. And my scouting report on Kurt Suzuki, I just love this young man. He has a plan for opposing hitters, and he works with his pitcher to work that plan. If the pitcher isn't going with it, gets away from the plan, he'll go out to the mound and say, hey, this is the way we need to pitch this guy. He's mechanically sound behind the plate and totally committed to doing all the things a catcher needs to do to be successful back there, blocking balls, jumping out on bunts, and running through a brick wall if it needs to be. And then when he's at the plate, he has become one of the tougher outs in the game. He doesn't strike out. And what I love about his offensive approach is he takes what the pitcher gives him, figures out what the pitcher's trying to do, figures out how he can be successful. He's become a very, very complete player on this Twins team, and has an all-star appearance now coming up for his efforts. Just a very solid player, Kurt Suzuki.
1-2 to Corey Hart. Chopper to short. Escobar sprints, catches, throws, 2 down. And that'll bring up Dustin Ackley. Time now for you to tweet a photo using hashtag NorthFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T. The shame of it all, of course, is that the pitching numbers don't reflect, I don't think, what Suzuki has done behind the plate. This has all been on the pitching staff this year, and the failures and injuries that have hit the rotation. The bullpen, of course, is standing alone done a very nice job, but the rotation has been just terrible again this year for the most part. And the Twins hope to have a much better starting rotation. It hasn't happened in the first half of the year, but I don't think that should be in any way a reflection on Suzuki's efforts behind the plate.
No, not at all.
Pop up left side, and Escobar will call off Nunez. Another good inning for Phil Hughes, and we've got 2 scoreless here in Seattle. by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. By Northland Ford. Visit northlandford.com and your local Northland Ford dealers today. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. So far, the only run scored in the game, a pair of solo home runs last night. Target Field suites are available for single game rental for groups of 16 to 96. You can choose from the intimate premier suites, the flexible event suites, or the spacious Skyline suite at Target Field. Food and beverage included in every purchase. You can find out more at twinsbaseball.com/groups or call 800-33-TWINS to schedule your suite at a Twins game. Eduardo Escobar takes strike one from Chris Young. Talking about Young winning a battle which he started late in spring training. The Mariners picked him up from the Washington Nationals, but that's after they had taken a look at Scott Baker to fill this role for them. Randy Wolf. And they ended up with Young, and given his 8-4 record and an ERA in the low threes, I think they're pretty happy with the way things turned out. 2-1, and Escobar fouls it back. Baker, of course, now kind of a utility pitcher for the Texas Rangers. It's kind of interesting with all the injuries the Rangers have had. Baker's not been given a regular turn in their rotation. Back to Young. Don't try to hit a hopper over a guy 6'10". One down. And that'll bring up Sam Fuld. Sam is okay. He's got a sore hip after his collision, not so much with the wall, but his collapse on the warning track.
Ground, yeah.
And we were concerned, of course, about the concussion. He said, no, everything from the shoulders up is fine. He just landed hard on his hip. So he was a little stiff and sore, but in the lineup again tonight. Strike one.
This young man, another one of those that you would say would run through a wall for you. He's tried to do that a couple of times.
A little pop fly right center field. It's going to be a tough play, and it's going to land for a hit. Cano ran to a spot that was about 20 feet from where the ball landed. And the Twins get a one-out single. Now, Fuld, another one of those guys that can steal a base, so we'll see if the Twins try to get him to second base.
Another high fastball from Chris Young, and you watch the route that Cano takes, and you're right, Dick. He ran back and just misjudged where that ball was going. It was going to be probably impossible for him to get there and make an over-the-shoulder catch, but it certainly wasn't going to be possible with that route.
In the first inning, when Nunez singled, he stole second on the next pitch. The Twins maybe didn't have an opportunity. Dozier in the game last night singled to start the ball game, and I was half expecting Dozier, more than half expecting him to try to steal second. He didn't. Team is struggling to create scoring opportunities, and sometimes you need to be aggressive, maybe even more so than you would normally, just to try to make something happen.
I'm sure that's on manager Ron Gardenhire's mind. That's why we saw Nunez take off right away. A lot of times when teams in a slump, I'd like to hit and run, force guys to stay on the ball longer and make contact. But a manager's always concerned about the matchup with a hitter and a pitcher, and if he thinks a guy's really struggling and can't make contact with the ball, then a hit and run can run you right out of an inning too. So that's the job of a manager, to figure out what players to be and what can do certain situations at certain times, even when they're slumping.
Dozier lined out to the warning track. Ackley retreated to make a catch his first time up. Of course, if you're young and you're a little deliberate to the plate, and you got a situation like this, best thing you can do is try to get ahead of the hitter, and he's done that. 0-1 to Dozier. Now up and away, 1-1. Vavra giving the signs.
And we're at a count here, 1 ball and 1 strike and 1 out. This is kind of a classic 1-1, 2-1 with 1 out, kind of a classic hit and run type of count. Fuld runs well. Thought about going there.
hit hard again, but foul. 1-2. Dozier representing the Twins and the American League. Each team has listed 4 guys, and there will be a 5th added to both the American League team and the National League team. Cespedes of the A's defending his Home Run Derby championship of a year ago. Adam Jones. And they're all right-handed batters, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are. Yep.
So if you have a seat in right field for the Home Run Derby, you'd better pull for Justin Morneau to A, be named to the team, and then be invited to the Home Run Derby, just so there's a lefty in there. There goes Fuld, and Dozier strikes out. And it's an easy stolen base for Fuld, but now out number 2. Dozier chased a pitch about 1.5 feet outside. Saturday, a full day of MLB action, beginning with the Twins taking on the Rockies on Fox Sports North. And then NL Central rivals the Cardinals taking on the Brewers on Fox Sports 1. Then baseball night in America on Fox. Andrew McCutchen and the Pirates battle the Reds. The MLB doubleheader begins Saturday at 2:30 on Fox Sports North. Fox Sports 1 continues at 6 p.m. Central on Fox, streaming live on Fox Sports Go, and I believe then that would be called a triple header, right? We got 3 games, but 2 of them start at the same time. Gotcha. Okay. Here is Nunez. He singled, pulling the ball through the hole to left field. The Twins again in need of a 2-out hit to score a run. 1-0. And now a strike. Zunino couldn't catch it. Tampa Bay beat Kansas City 4-3. The Dodgers scored 5 runs in the first on Justin Verlander. And then the Tigers scored the next 14 runs. Probably won't surprise you to hear that Don Mattingly was ejected in the middle of that Tiger onslaught. Tap foul, 1-2. 20 hits for the Tigers, season high. 1-2 to Nunez. Young over the 100 pitch level for the year. 101 pitches thrown on the season. This one hit to right center field to the gap and caught by the right fielder Saunders. Nunez hit it hard, cut off by the right fielder, and the Twins leave Fuld at second. Sessions and merchandise at Target Field all season long. 2014 season tickets are still available, and you can call 800-33-TWINS or visit twinsbaseball.com. Find out how you can in early July join the season ticket family. Here's Mike Zunino started the scoring in last night's game with a solo home run to left. Michael Saunders added one later in the game. That's been it. The Mariners came into this series really struggling over the last couple of games scoring runs on the road. They've not known, and maybe you can tell looking at these batting averages and particularly toward the end of their batting order, that this is a lineup that's challenged to score runs, much like the Twins. 2 strikes from Hughes. And that takes care of Zunino on 3 pitches. Here's our Carsoup.com trivia question. You're going to stay up this late watching baseball. We're going to have a really good trivia question for you. Name the 4 players who played at least 100 games with both the Twins and the Mariners. Wow. Here's Miller. See, I thought you were a part of our trivia question on the last road trip. A similar question, Twins and the Texas Rangers, but
yeah.
You didn't have enough tenure with the Rangers to be a correct answer.
No, I
never played for Seattle, did you?
No, but I tell you what, I loved hitting at the Kingdome. I wouldn't have minded playing for Seattle just to hit there in that old place.
Foul back, 1-1. Now the question, I believe, said Mariners, not the Pilots, or else we might be able to include Don Mincher, Rich Rollins, who I think were part of the expansion team in 1969 out here, the Pilots. 1-1. Fly ball to left. That's going to send Willingham back 2 steps and then in 1, 2 down. We're talking about the 2 teams struggling to score runs. The Mariners have played 1 more game than the Twins, and they have scored 1 more run. So if you're wondering, when you saw the Mariners at Target Field, the Twins at the end of that series actually had a better record than the Mariners. Well, what's happened? Why are the Mariners contending, and why have the Twins fallen 10 games below? The answer should be obvious. The starting pitching. We got a very good bullpen here in Seattle too. But the Twins can, match up somewhat with the Mariner bullpen. It's been the starters that have separated these 2 teams one direction from the other. Saunders called out on strikes his first time, and now it's 2 strikes again quickly his second time.
And when you think about the 2 lineups, I look at the Mariners, and they have Robinson Cano, who's hitting the way he always hits, and Kyle Seager, who's had a terrific year. And we haven't seen any duo on the Twins really hit their stride yet, like those 2 guys have done the first half of the season. There are guys on the Twins that you can point to. Of course, Joe Mauer was in a slump and then has been hurt off and on. Willingham has not really got on track. Morales has not gotten on track yet. Brian Dozier had flashes of some greatness early.
Chopper. That skips by Dozier. That took a couple of funny hops. Dozier tried to backhand swipe at it. We've seen him make that play. He did not make it here.
This ball got out there in a real funny position for Brian. You see, I think it kind of hit the grass on the second hop and really slowed down. Brian looked like he hesitates right here, and then the ball just kind of scoots by him. I think he thought the second bounce was going to bounce further toward him than it did, and then he got caught in an in-between hop.
2-out single, and now here's James Jones lined out to Willingham his first time up.
To finish the offensive point for the Twins, I think they have the ability up and down the lineup to get 3 or 4 guys hot.
And Dozier, or Hughes rather, deflects it, and they'll call him out, and we'll almost certainly get a replay here. The Twins heading off the field, but I think they'll stop in their tracks here. It looked like he was safe from up here. Hughes knocked it down. Dozier did what he could with it, but Jones so fleet of foot, I think he beat it out. First base umpire is Gabe Morales. He's safe.
Yeah, I think he's safe. It did look like it from up here.
And it took very little time for the Mariner video chain of command to relay the word to Lloyd McClendon. Yeah, we need to take a look at this. Again, the catch is recorded when the ball hits the back of the glove. And I think by that time, Jones already had his right foot firmly on the base. And the fans here, most of them human beings, because it's dog day, would bark at the park, all presumably looking at the replay. And the fans cheering, the dogs are barking, and I think this is going to get overruled.
Well, they showed on the big screen here in center field, they showed one of the looks that we showed you at home, a very good look at it, and would appear that they have enough evidence to overrule.
There's Dale Scott, crew chief on this crew, and safe is the call. First and second, the inning will continue with Cano coming to the plate. Now you hope nothing dramatic happens as it did in the Dodger-Tiger game. Take another look at it and you can see the right foot there with the ball still a foot from the glove of Colabello. Dodgers had a 5-0 lead on Justin Verlander. Torrey Hunter hit a double, but he was ruled out on the field. And the Tigers challenged. The call was reversed, and then next thing you know, the Tigers scored the next 14 runs. Twins hope that nothing like that happens with Cano at the plate now with 2 men aboard. That's to left. Hit right at Willingham, who makes the catch. One pitch later, the Twins are heading to the dugout. And we've got 3 scoreless innings here at Safeco Field. Suzuki will lead things off. It's not Ichiro, it's Kurt, the Twins all-star.
Catcher Kurt Suzuki comes to the plate. Here are 3 things about Mr. Suzuki from fellow All-Star Glenn Perkins. First off, he likes to listen to Hawaiian music on his iPod and in the clubhouse. Weird eating habits, according to Glenn Perkins. He never sees him eating steak or chicken, always with the salads and the protein shakes. And the last one is so serious on the field. A gamer behind the plate, a competitor, but boy, off the field, he says he likes to keep it loose, likes to have a lot of fun, and certainly a lot in common with Glenn Perkins when it comes to that sense of humor, guys.
Thanks, Gavin. Yeah, Suzuki has done everything. Here's a drive to left center field. And in the gap, Ackley giving way to Jones, one away. He's been everything the Twins could have hoped for and more. 1 down, and that'll bring up Kendrys Morales. You'll see him get retired so quickly in an at-bat, usually, but One down, and now Morales hit a fly ball to center to end the first inning. The Twins have had a couple of runners in scoring position against Young, but as seems to be the case whenever a team is struggling to score runs, 2-out hits are just almost never found in the right spot with men on base. You'll get them with the bases empty, but then as soon as you get somebody in scoring position, they seem to vanish.
Well, it's hard to string together a bunch of hits in an inning, and when you're not hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and the Twins don't have the kind of lineup that has 3 or 4 guys that hit the ball out of the ballpark with regularity. They really are a singles and doubles hitting team, and when that's your characteristic, and guys aren't hitting the ball out of the ballpark, to score 3 or 4 runs, you got to get 5 or 6 hits, or a couple walks and 3 hits and doubles.
This one stroked hard to right center field. And then one hops the wall, actually goes over the wall. It's a double for Morales with 1 out on the 4th.
Now 2-out doubles are good. That's a swing, the likes of which we've seen from Kendrys Morales over his career. Much more Morales-like. Gets a high fastball and gets the bat hit to it quickly, drives it to right center for a ground rule double. And Morales is one of those guys that's going to have to start picking it up. Morales and Willingham, I still believe that these guys are going to get hot at some point in time, and the Twins lineup will look pretty offensive. But you got to get your 3, 4, 5 guys hitting. If nothing else, you have to. Those guys at some point in time have to produce runs.
1-0 to Willingham. Fouls back. When you have guys who have not established themselves, and I'll even include Dozier on that list.
Oh,
we're talking about Dozier as just over 1,200 at bats.
He absolutely should be included on those on that list. He's still learning. I mean, as I said, he's really shown some great promise as the kind of player I think he's going to be. But 1,200 at bats, it's not enough yet. He hasn't learned how to be consistent at the big league level yet.
1 and 2. So you have these guys, and Arcia's on the list,
yep.
Parmalee,
Colabello,
right. But they're projected. You hope they can achieve a certain level. You really need the guys who've already achieved that level to just do what they have already done, including Willingham and Morales and guys like that.
And Joe, right. And Joe Mauer when
yeah.
he's healthy. Absolutely right. And there's not a lineup in baseball that is going to contend without their 3, 4, and 5 guys hitting like 3, 4, and 5 hitters in the lineup. It's just not going to happen. And you want to see the Santanas and Doziers continue to make strides, and you want to see Colabello become a big run producer and Arcia live up to his promise. But those guys at this young and early stage in their careers, until they've had 1,500, 1,800 at bats, you can't count on those guys to carry the club. I think that's unrealistic.
Well, now 3 and 2 to Willingham. Morales at second and 1 away. High fly to left, headed off on the end of the bat. Ackley will have a play. That's out number 2. And that'll bring up Oswaldo Arcia. When he finished his first at bat, I mentioned the name Stan Musial because the image I have of Musial, he started with his hands really low and then brought them back into the hitting position. And that's one of many things I think they're trying with Arcia, to get whatever movement from his hands into a more upright position rather than moving down.
Right. That down's the wrong direction to be moving when you're striding into the pitch. You talk about Musial. You talk about a guy that could backspin the ball. Stanley Mann could backspin it. But you watch Arcia's hands and they go down and don't get back up. And what you're alluding to is one possible solution that works with some hitters, and Michael Kadire did this a little bit. If your tendency is to bring your hands down as you stride, then start with them at the low point of where you bring them to, and then it forces you to bring them up to hit.
The ball lifted to left center field, in the gap but playable for Ackley. And the Twins leave Morales at second. They've left 3 men at second base. Stay tuned for this important message from Meshbesher and Spence. Bottom of the fourth coming up, no score. And the cleanup hitter for the Mariners, Kyle Seager, will lead things off. Phil Hughes has given up 3 singles. Twins have 2 singles and a double. Seager called out on strikes his first time up.
Good pitch there by Phil Hughes, dropping a curveball in there. Sort of a get-me-over curveball. Guy's looking fastball or cutter. That's what he throws most of the time. But plant the curveball in the hitter's mind, and then he's a little late on the fastball. A little later than he would normally be. And I think Phil Hughes ought to do that more often. Throw a curveball to start somebody off. Throw it kind of in the middle of a count every once in a while. We've seen him be very effective striking guys out after throwing hard stuff and then getting to 2 strikes and striking guys out with it. But I think you ought to use it a little bit more.
And another foul. Hughes has been good, and again, that hasn't been the problem. It's been a big inning, typically late in his outings, that have kind of skewed his overall numbers. 2 strikes. Ooh. Just off the outside corner. 1-2.
Pretty good 0-2 pitch right there. Talking about changing hitters' eye angles. He saw a big slow curveball, a couple of high fastballs, and then zipped one down knee high. And then back upstairs again.
To left, playable for Willingham. And this part, like target field, suits Phil Hughes' game. He's gotten a lot of fly ball outs here, 1 away here in the 4th. Join the Minnesota Lynx for the Dads and Daughters ticket offer presented by Fox Sports North. Sunday against the Seattle Storm for just $33. Fans receive 2 tickets to the game and a drawstring backpack. If you'd like the tails, visit foxsportsnorth.com. Click on the More tab for details. There's Logan Morrison, struck out his first time up. In the right field corner, and a fair ball. Morrison rounding first, on his way to second. Let's see his throw right on the button, but it's a double with 1 out in the 4th. And that'll get us to Corey Hart.
Good swing there by Morrison. You could tell he went up looking fastball right from the on-deck circle. Got a low fastball. Most left-handers hitters like the ball right there. And it looks like Morrison is no different. That's right in his sweet spot. Kind of a thigh-high fastball that left-handers tend to feast on at this level.
And now Hart going to bounce her to short his first time up. Popped up near the Seattle dugout. And strike. What the Mariners need is for Hart or someone else to provide some pop from this side of the plate. They've gone public with the idea that they need somebody, and Hart's been hurt, just coming off the disabled list last weekend. They need somebody to provide some thump. Hart did that when he was healthy with the Brewers. Well, back 2 strikes.
We were talking about a little bit earlier. I think they're a guy or 2 short, and maybe Corey Hart will get healthy and be the right-handed DH. You cannot survive as a team in this league, in the American League, without a very, very strong hitting designated hitter. You're just giving away too much to the other teams that have that extra guy in the lineup. And if you don't have a DH that's producing runs, then you're behind the 8 ball right from the beginning. And you look at their corner outfielders, and they're not getting a lot of thump from the corner outfielders either, which is a classic position. So, talking with Timmy Laudner by telephone in a call today, and Timmy said he thinks they're a guy and a half short, and I think that's about right. Maybe 2 guys, maybe the DH and one of the corner outfielders away from thumping the ball away from being a good hitting line.
Popped up near the plate, and Suzuki with the one-hand catch, a foul ball catch, 2 away. And all the things we've said about Kendrys Morales and how he's behind trying to get caught up. Imagine Corey Hart. You know, he missed all of last year. So wherever Morales is, Hart is somewhere behind him.
Right. And, you know, not a pretty economical roll of the dice for the Mariners. I mean, Corey Hart's been a very, very nice player for a long time. A good hitter. And pretty good roll of the dice by the Mariners. See if maybe they can catch some lightning in a bottle with Corey coming back and trying to prove himself again. But hasn't gotten there yet. Doesn't mean he won't. But as of right now, one of the reasons the Mariners aren't scoring a lot of runs, I think, is the lack of thump at DH and one of the corner outfield spots.
1-0 to Ackley. 1-1.
Or at first base. You know, they got Justin Smoak in the Cliff Lee trade many, many years ago. They thought Justin Smoak was going to be a real good switch-hitting offensive player. That has not worked out. Now maybe Logan Morrison is the guy, but first base, left field, right field, that's where you want to get some thump and DH, and they just haven't gotten it from those positions yet.
1-1. All back. 1-2. Ackley with a pop to short, his first time up. Just get a sense this is another game for Phil Hughes where whoever scores the first run, that first run will be bigger than it should be. He'll try to strand a runner at second here, and he will, striking out Ackley. We've got 4 shutout innings for both starting pitchers here in Seattle. Fan of the game, a lot of Twins fans, not just here at the ballpark. I'm sure you've done it too the last couple of days. You walk around the city and Twins jerseys and caps everywhere, it seems like. I don't believe, and I got up before the sun came up today. Still in the, I'm still in the Central Time Zone. Okay, I don't think there's been a cloud in the sky the entire day. It's just been absolutely gorgeous.
Hard pressed to find a more beautiful city when it's 75 or 80 and sunny here in Seattle.
Colabello lines one to left center field. It's cut off there by Jones, and Colabello will be held to a single. The leadoff man is on for the Twins, and for the first time here tonight. That'll bring up Escobar. Twins have not scored a run here now in 13 plus innings. Third baseman Seager's in on the grass. See how desperate the Twins are to try to score a run here. I think they have Escobar bunting. Strike one. A lot of foot speed at first base and Colabello.
Ron Gartner is not a big proponent of bunting early in games. He likes all those guys to swing the bat. That's one of the characteristics of Gartner.
And as a result, 4-6-3 double play. Escobar on the second pitch, wrapping one to Cano, 2 away in the 5th, and that'll bring up Fold. Fold with a single and a stolen base. Even that double play grounder, it was hit right at Cano. He just bent over, picked it up, back flipped it to second, and burnt about 4 calories in the hole.
His heart rate went from 53 to 54.
Right. 1-0 to Fold. Hit a pop fly single into right center field. His first time up. 2-0. Strike. Fold's average creeping up. A chance to play every day. Something he enjoys. Whether the Twins, I think, are pretty aware that they don't want to wear him down and out, but they really don't have any center field options. They can put somebody out there. With Aaron Hicks at Double-A and Byron Buxton in Class A ball, there's no one on the roster right now that would feel comfortable out there. Manny Santana did an okay job, but of course he's on the disabled list. He may rejoin the club on the active roster when we get to Colorado. Here's a drive to right center field. This ball's hit well. It is back and gone. A home run for Sam Fold. His second of the year, his first of the year, came against the Twins at Target Field.
Little guy, not a home run hitter, but he can juice it every once in a while. There is some life in that bat. He's been working very, very hard with Tom Vernansky about getting his top hand to the ball, and he does it right there. Ball about belt high, and really got the big end of the bat through the ball very, very nicely there.
His 8th major league home run. And now Dozier. And watch it, Sam Fold is going to take his place in the home run hitting contest. He's got one at Target Field. Dozier swings and misses 1-1.
And what I liked about that at bat from Sam Fold is that he took some high fastballs. That's not his strength, hitting the ball up there, stomach or letter high. He took one for a strike, took one for a ball, and then got one down where he does like it. He had a really good swing there.
Pop up short center field, and Jones comes in to end the inning. Couple of hits for the Twins, a home run, and they've got a 1-0 lead to hand to Phil Hughes.
on my index finger, and pretty true standard four-seam fastball there. You know, I do think about getting my hand action down a little bit more so I get some sink along with that run. Thumb, where it would normally be here, I just rotate it underneath the baseball a little bit, so those will come right off. Index finger dug into that seam a little bit, and at the very end, just spin it down as hard as I can. I want it to rotate like that so it comes out like a four-seamer so that hitters don't see any weird spin on it.
And Phil Hughes talking about his pitches, and he delivers a strike, a swinging strike, to the first man he faces with the lead in the fifth inning, Mike Zunino. 3 runs have been scored in this series so far, all of them on solo home runs. Zunino hit one to start the scoring in last night's game. And Hughes gets ahead of him quickly, 0-2.
Mike Zunino, kind of an all-or-nothing kind of guy, isn't he? He's got 13 home runs and almost 100 strikeouts already.
I'm showing you those numbers, and I mentioned them the other day. Here's Zunino now with 91 strikeouts on the season and 254 at bats. Add another one. And it's not fair to compare Zunino to a guy who won the league MVP. But when Harmon Killebrew won the league MVP in 1969, 555 at bats, he only struck out 84 times and drove in 140 runs.
You know, as we watch Hughes throw the ball by Zunino there, that's not a knock on Zunino for me nearly as much as that. That's incredible.
For Harmon to do that?
Hit almost 50 home runs and only struck out 85 times. That is amazing.
Well, Harmon told me once, here's a high fly to center, and it's deep. That fold on the track makes the catch out number 2. It's a different era, of course, but Harmon said, in the 60s, in his heyday, there was a stigma attached to 100 strikeouts. You did not want that on your bubblegum card.
Right.
2 down in the 5th.
Well, that was the case most of the years that I played as well. I mean, guys would get to 100 strikeouts or just underneath, but a lot of us, we'd get up there in the 80, 90, and this was the case with me. I'd strike out 80 times, but I'd walk 80 times
right.
also. The troubling thing with a lot of guys today is that they're striking out even more than 100 times and not walking a whole lot. It's just a big out.
George Springer has already struck out 108 times in, I believe, under 300 at bats. 1-1 to Michael Saunders. B.J. Upton, 109 strikeouts. Justin Upton, 97 strikeouts.
Talking to Paul Molitor about that the other day, and he was shaking his head about how there is not much stigma about striking out and not just trying to make some kind of contact with the ball.
1-2 to Saunders. A strikeout and a single. 273 at bats for George Springer, and he struck out 108 times. Just off the plate, 2-2.
Great line by Mickey Mantle one time. He looked at his baseball card and had all the strikeouts and walks, and I think it added up to about 7,000 at bats where he either struck out or walked. And he said, "Man, I took 10 years off. I didn't even know it."
3-2. In your era, Reggie Jackson was notorious. He stood out as a guy who just struck out a lot, but he'd hit 40-some home runs. He'd fit in right now. People wouldn't even blink looking at his numbers now. 3-2 and a lazy fly to left. Willingham camped under it. And Hughes comes off the mound with his teammates in a 1-0 lead after 5.
1-0 lead here in Seattle. Twins fans, don't forget at Twins home games, bring your Circle Me signs. And if you get circled, you may find yourself in the Minnesota Lottery Winner's Circle, where you could win $100 worth of lottery scratch-off tickets, courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery.
Eduardo Nunez, Kurt Suzuki, Kendrys Morales in the Twins' sixth. All right, you were here last year for our broadcast from Safeco Field, and now here we had a 2-0 game last night, and we talked, I think, last night about how scores are suppressed here ever since they opened up this ballpark. Now, why do you suppose it is? You look at Chris Young, and he's thrived pitching here. Other pitchers have done very well here and not so well elsewhere. Nunez strikes out, and he's gone quickly to start the sixth inning.
Why do pitchers pitch so well in this ballpark?
Yeah, I mean, what is it about this ballpark that makes it such a good hitter's ballpark or pitcher's ballpark?
Well, it's a pretty big yard. If you look how drastically it goes from 376 in left center out to the 401 side of center field, there's a pretty big angle out there, and the same, it's 380 the power alley in right center. So unless you're pulling the ball, it's a big yard.
And now Suzuki on the first pitch. It's a towering pop up to short. Miller has it. 2 quick outs here in the sixth on just 4 pitches. And that'll bring up Morales.
I got to believe that for a lot of the year here in Seattle, the air's a little heavier too, damper and heavier. Could have a lot to do with how good the pitchers are in Seattle. You're not going to get a lot of home runs off King Felix and Iwakuma. But it seems like it seems like the games are low scoring here. And other than the fact that it's a big yard, I can't. I don't have another answer for you other than a big yard and heavy air.
Okay. Well, here's Morales. He cracked one to the gap in right center field. One hop the fence. Pitch left up, and it's 1-1.
I don't get the feeling that there's a jet stream going out in any direction out there. So I think, the atmospherics in a ballpark have a lot to do with it, or the lack thereof. That's why dome stadiums the ball tends to carry really, really well in domes. There's no air movement working on it, so it's kind of pure contact and distance with nothing impeding it. And some ballparks I think just have atmospheric conditions that slow the ball down for whatever reason.
2-2. That triggered a thought. I remember when the Metrodome opened, there was a workout before the very first exhibition game. And I interviewed you, and I'm sure it was much more memorable for me than for you. But I interviewed you and Ken Herbeck, and he said, well, we really don't know how the ball is going to travel in here until you take some batting practice and hit a few in the game. And I think the Metrodome was a very good hitter's ballpark. Ball traveled very well.
Wonderful place to
hit. And Kingdome, as you said last night too, very good hitter's ballpark. But until you open up a ballpark, you really don't know how the ball is going to travel. 2-2. And Morales deep to center field. This ball's hit a long ways. Jones back, short of the track, makes the catch. And it's a 1-2-3 sixth inning. It's still a 1-0 ball game. Sam Fuld with a home run for the only run so far. Presented by Toyota. Let's go places. To find your nearest Toyota dealer and check out our current offers, visit buyatoyota.com. By Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. And by McDonald's, where right now you can score a delicious, creamy McCafe iced coffee starting at just $1.59. Phil Hughes pitching well for the Twins. He's got a 1-0 lead. James Jones, the batter, leading off the 6th. And a first pitch strike with the 5 shutout innings tonight. Hughes' career ERA here at Safeco now 0.67.
And that's the 17th first pitch strike in 20 hitters that he's faced. Nice pitch there. I don't know where that ball was. Good curveball there. He's coming into this inning, just a kind of a characteristic Phil Hughes game, as I mentioned. 16 of 19 and now 17 of 20 first pitch strikes.
That's to left center field. And Willingham tracks it down. 1 down. That'll bring up Robinson Cano. The 2014 MLB All-Star voting isn't over quite yet. And if you are like me and most of the people I hang with, you want to see Justin Morneau at the All-Star game, you can vote for your favorite out of those 5 for the American League. And then on the National League side, Justin is there. Rizzo, the Cubs, his closest pursuer with the initial balloting release today. And you have until Thursday, 3 p.m. Central to cast your vote. Go to twinsbaseball.com. And then Morneau, as we said, has said he would like to participate in the home run derby. And so an added bonus for Twins fans who want to see him show their appreciation for what he did in a Twins uniform. But a little bit of work to be done to get him there for the All-Star game. 1 strike to Cano. And now 2 strikes.
Well, I hope the National League fans do include Justin in on the National League team, because I want to do all those things that you just said that Twins fans want to do. I want to applaud Justin and see him get an awful lot of accolade at Target Field at the All-Star game.
2 strikes. Just off the corner. Wow. 2 former teammates. Hughes snatches the return throw from Suzuki. Been a couple pitches I think Hughes thought he had.
Yeah, this is a nice pitch. It looked like it was right up. The cutter came back. Didn't quite get there. Suzuki with a nice job of framing that pitch into the corner.
Chop to the right side. Head high hop for Dozier. A nice job by Hughes recovering, settling things down, and getting Cano 2 away. Join us for Spotlight Batting Champions as we go in depth and in the cage with Twins greats Rod Carew, Tony Oliva, and Joe Mauer. Not bad. Combined 32 All-Star Game appearances and 13 batting titles. They discuss the differences and similarities to their games. Take us inside the cage for a lesson in the art of hitting. Spotlight Batting Champions premieres Wednesday at 7:30 only on Fox Sports North. 2 down in the 6th, and now Kyle Seager. Breaking ball wide of the plate. Pitch count really good for Hughes. That is, as you see, just his 70th. 53 strikes. Better than a 3-to-1 strike to ball ratio. Up and in, 2-0.
Phil close to 80% of his pitches for strikes, throwing first pitch strikes. Very high ratio as well.
That's to left center. It's going to be down for a hit. And then Fold fires it back in. It's a 2-out single.
That puts so much pressure on a hitter when you're going strike one after strike one after strike one, and you don't let up there. You just keep throwing quality pitches in the strike zone. And what I've noticed over my time watching the game is when a pitcher goes strike one and throws a lot of strikes after that, he also gets hitters to swing at many more questionable pitches than he gets them to swing at if he's 2-0 and 3-1 all the time, or if he's not going or if he's not going strike one. There are a lot of great advantages other than just the fact that you're getting ahead of hitters. Hitters become more defensive.
Down and away, ball 1.
And swinging, when they get defensive, they tend to swing at marginal pitches and really hit your pitch if you're the pitcher rather than waiting for their pitch to drive.
1-0 to Morrison. 1-1. The Mariners have 5 hits, 4 singles, and they have all come with 2 outs in an inning. The exception, the double that Morrison hit, and that was with 1 out in the 4th. So not only has Hughes scattered them, but he's also at least gotten an out when a guy's gotten on base. And of course, he hasn't walked anybody.
And what we have to watch a little bit, we saw a 2-0 count to Seager and ball 1 here to Morrison. And this has kind of been the time of the game when Phil has lost just a little bit of command in the last couple outings.
About a foot and a half high out of the strike zone, 2-1.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He's sailing along and then all of a sudden gets behind guys. Now he can get back in the strike zone as we saw with Seager. And I expect he'll get back in the strike zone here to Morrison. But again, all of a sudden the hitter becomes a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more selective at the same time when the pitcher gets behind. This is the third time through the lineup. Yep, and they've seen a lot of his fastball. He needs to stay. He needs to continue to pound the strike zone.
2-1. Got a foul back. 2-2.
And a good pitch there, a high strike, a good riding fastball up in the zone. We saw Morrison, as kind of typical of left-handed hitters, get a low fastball and double down the right field line. Hughes and Suzuki staying high now and getting back to 2-2.
Two to Logan Morrison. Struck him out. A cutter on the outside corner. Another runner stranded. 6 shutout innings for Phil Hughes. Story of the game, it's the Twins who have a 1-0 lead.
Both pitchers pitching very well through 6 innings. Only 5 hits given up by each. 7 strikeouts for Hughes and 4 strikeouts for the big, tall right-handed Chris Young for the Mariners. The only difference in the ball game, that well-known power hitter Sam Fuld taking one over the right field fence for the 1-0 Twins advantage.
Josh Willingham with a foul just beneath us. 1 strike. Willingham, Arcia, and Colabello. The Twins hoping to do what the Mariners did last night. It was 1-0 at this juncture of the game last night. Then they got another solo home run. And boy, it seemed like the score was 7-0 instead of 2-0.
The way Iwakuma was going, it looked like 1-0 was going to be just fine.
2 strikes to Willingham. A strikeout in the second and a fly ball to left in the 4th. Changeup got him on 3 pitches. 1 down, and now Arcia.
Josh looking for fastballs the whole time up and getting breaking balls and changeups just out in front, looking to pull the ball. And what happens when you're slumping a little bit? You just can't seem to slow your body down and keep from trying to pull the ball all the time. It's not anything that you're consciously trying to do. It's just hard to get out of.
A big fly to right field. Pretty to watch, but easy to catch. And Arcia's gone on one pitch. You know, the changeup, I would think, big guy like Young, I mean, he's a massive human being. And so just the pitching motion of him propelling the ball toward you at the plate would subconsciously, I think, make you try to quicken everything up, because it looks like he's big, he's strong. It looks like he could throw the ball 100 miles an hour.
It does, and this big long stride that he's got makes it look like he's getting all the way halfway to the plate when he releases it. And I think that's the sneakiness. That's why he gets away with 85-mile-an-hour high fastballs, because his arm motion, as you suggest, on all his pitches is very, very similar speed. He's very deceptive in that way.
And now Colabello takes inside 1-1. Fox Tracks presented by Carrier. I mean, when his stride seems to step out onto the grass,
you want to get in a hurry.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. I really think, you know, having not seen a lot of him before tonight, I really think that has a lot to do with his success.
2-1.
Because there's no reason. He's got no business throwing 85-mile-an-hour fastballs by guys. But you watch his delivery. Now watch how long he strides, how long he stays back there on the rubber, and then comes over the top, same arm speed on all his pitches, just like that. That arm speed looked like fastball arm speed. Step a long way toward the plate, deliver the ball out in front of you, looking like a fastball, and then it's a few miles an hour slower and breaking away.
2-2 to Colabello. Strikeout. A couple of strikeouts in the seventh. And a quick 1-2-3 inning. It's 1-0 Minnesota. In front, Sam Fold with a home run, the only run of the game so far. Subway in-game box score. 5 hits from one each from the first 5 hitters. They've all come with at least 1 out in the inning. And now the designated hitter, Corey Hart, will lead things off in the 7th. Hart, Ackley, Zunino. Hart is 0 for 2. Ground ball to short and a pop-up to Suzuki. Strike 1. Center field and down for a hit. Fold cuts it off, and Hart's aboard with a single. First leadoff base runner for the Mariners, and it comes here in the 7th inning.
And this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Minnesota Twins, LLC.
We'll bring up Ackley. Will Hughes so far has gotten just 2 ground ball outs. Hart will be lifted. For Endy Chavez. Mariners made a roster move after the game last night. It was John Buck's birthday, and they designated him for assignment after the game. And they brought up Jesus Sucre, one of their minor league catchers, but they are with the roster change still with 13 pitchers and 12 position players. So essentially, Lloyd McClendon doing here in the 7th inning what Ron Gardenhire was reluctant to do and did not do in the 7th inning last night, with Kendrys Morales singling. Popped up, a foul ball back in the seats. Gardy second-guessed himself to death. It's tougher to make a move such as the one McClendon just made when you have only 3 possible moves. In the case of the Twins last night, it was Morales. And in the 7th inning, pretty sure that the lineup was going to roll over and revisit itself again in the 9th inning. One of the reasons Ron Gardenhire didn't make the change, he wanted to keep Morales in the game for the 9th inning rather than Parmelee. And then when Morales got to third base, he made the change and ended up having Parmelee hit in the 9th inning anyway.
Well, you sure don't know that Arcia is going to come up behind Morales and hit a double.
Right.
You know, I mean, you just don't know that that's going to happen. But once he got to third, then you know you've got the tying run, 90 feet away, and so then it makes it a little bit more critical. I mean, you don't know if a guy's going to get hit, but you think maybe one of your guys can hit a sacrifice fly, right? You need somebody a little bit speedier than Kendrys on third base to tie the score.
The middle infielders were playing back for Colabello's at bat, but he pulled the ball to the third baseman. If he hits a ground ball to short, the game is tied in the 7th.
But not necessarily if Kendrys is on.
Right.
If I'm at shortstop playing back, somebody hits me a hard ground ball, I'm going to the plate with it, to get Morales.
And the switch here for the Mariners much more significant. There's the 2-2 pitch. Ground ball hit to Dozier. And pretty much what Cano did, he had the ball hit right to him. He just back flipped it to the shortstop. And just the 3rd time the Mariners have hit the ball on the ground, once to Escobar, once to Dozier, and now again to Dozier for a double play.
Nice little double play here. Bryant stays with a little in between hop. He's very good at that backhand flip, and turns out to be just a routine double play. Nice turn by Escobar, but pretty straightforward.
Now 2 down, and here's Zunino. And then just to complete the thought, McClendon had the luxury of pinch running Chavez for Hart. Foul back. And the gap between the two in terms of foot speed is a little bit more than it would have been between Kendrys Morales and Chris Parmelee. As Gardy said after the game, he wasn't even sure that Parmelee would have scored on Arcia's double.
Right.
1 strike. Zunino 0 for 2. He has struck out twice.
I think it really makes a difference too, about the fact that Gardy was on the visiting side and McClendon on the home side here in the 7th inning, bottom of the 7th. Maybe McClendon thinking I need to go for it here in the bottom of the inning and try to make this just a 9-inning game.
Fouled straight back again beneath us. 1-2.
Whereas Gardy really, as a visiting team, he needs. For a lineup that's not swinging the bat very well, he was concerned about the lineup turning over and not be able to get back to Morales.
And now eventually, maybe not tonight, but eventually the Twins will have a 4th bench player, Chris Herman, called up with Ricky Nolasco going on the disabled list. 1-2 to Zunino. 88th pitch for Hughes. Fouled back. And Suzuki will run a new baseball out to Hughes and figure out how to put the wraps on this 7th inning.
One thing we've been talking about Kurt Suzuki, one of the things that I really, really like about this young man is that he really believes in his heart that he can have an effect on the ball game as the catcher, that he can work with his pitcher, that he can call the right game. He really, really believes that he can help positively affect them. And he did.
A foul tip into and then back into Suzuki's mitt. He was able to catch the foul tip eventually to end the inning. Being out here in this beautiful city, we're going to Denver, but I'm missing so much of the all-star coverage that Fox Sports North is putting together, whether it's the batting champion feature or a replay of the 65 all-star game. I'd love to sit down and watch that again. So we hope you back home are able to enjoy at least some of the programming. Here's Eduardo Escobar leading off the 8th, squaring to bunt, taking ball 1. Escobar, Fuld, and Dozier. Escobar hit into a double play his last time up. The first time up, he hit a comebacker to Young. Twins would like to get Escobar's bat going again. I don't think anyone thought he would hit 315 this year, but now the average has dropped down to 262. He has had a history, at least as a Twin, of doing this, though, of hitting early in the season. And that's not common for hitters to do that. There's a strike called, 3-1.
First year he's ever really had an awful lot of at-bats and a lot of playing time, and he was in a hot streak early in the season, tailed off a little bit, which you would kind of expect.
Take a walk here.
Has a really nice at-bat there. Took some good pitches, high fastballs that he didn't offer at, works himself a walk.
Now on FoxSportsNorth.com, Twins coach Paul Molitor tells Tyler Mason about his weird but fun All-Star Game experiences as a player. That story and more. All-Star Game coverage at FoxSportsNorth.com/All-Star Game. Sam Fuld in a bunting situation, one would think. Got some speed at first, a little more speed at the plate. And yet Seager just now is creeping into the edge of the grass. No hint of a bunt, ball 1.
The guy hit the ball in the ballpark. Why would you make him bunt?
I know.
Well, and one of the reasons why he may not be bunting here is because of the speed on the bases, and especially at the plate. Full figures maybe not to hit into as many double plays as somebody else with that speed from the left side. But he's also been, as you had mentioned earlier, Dick, he's swinging the bat well lately. And so, again, Ron Gardenhire is not a big aficionado of the sacrifice bunt. He doesn't like to give away a lot of outs.
A little bit unlike the situation in the fifth. The game was scoreless at the time. Colabello singled, and Escobar didn't bunt, hit into a double play, but Colabello doesn't have the speed on the bases that Escobar does. Maybe giving him one swing. We'll see. Tattoos it foul.
And I would think if Brian Dozier were scalding hot like he was earlier in the season, it might change Gardy's mind. He might bunt the guy over to give Dozier a shot, a for sure shot at driving in the run, and Nunez behind him. But in this case, I think he wants Sam to swing the bat.
Escobar back to the bag.
It also could be a situation where he would give Sam one good swing like that, like he just did, where he ripped it foul, and then work a count into a hit and run play.
Save it first. And then what's Full do? He's all over the pitch. He just happened to hook it foul. He hit a very loud foul. One and one. Now another foul. This one popped up into the seats. 1-2. Dick Bramer and Roy Smalley bringing you Twins baseball. We've got Kevin Gork down on the field. Bert Blyleven back in the Twin Cities, ramping up his efforts for the All-Star Week festivities, including the Futures game. 1-2. Bert will be managing against Tom Kelly. He will be managing some of the Twins prospects. Tom Kelly now will be managing Alex Meyer. He was a sub for Trevor May, who was dealing with a calf injury. 1-2 to Sam Fuld, and Escobar checked again. Saw the Twins steal twice against Young. Nunez in the first, Fuld in the third. Escobar 1 for 2 in stolen bases. And they pitch out. 2-2. There goes Escobar, and the pitch poked to center field. Escobar around second, on his way to third. And the throw coming to second base, and Fuld has a 3-hit night. And the Twins have runners at first and third with nobody out.
Nice job of hitting there by Sam Fuld, who was, as we said, is swinging the bat very, very well. Nice job of manager Ron Gardenhire waiting the count out, waiting to get the pitch out thrown, and then send the runner right after the pitch out, knowing they're not going to do it twice.
And Lloyd McClendon will come to the mound here to take Young out. Another good outing for Young just so far. 1 run allowed on the Fuld home run. He handled the rest of the Twins lineup pretty well. He just couldn't get Sam Fuld out. Quick trip to the mound. McClendon will wait for a reliever as Chris Young comes off the mound. 1-0 lead in the 8th inning. And a limited number of season ticket locations are now available in the Delta Sky 360 Legends Club. You can enjoy the second half of the season in padded seats and enjoy the amenities that only the Legends Club can offer. The Delta Sky 360 Legends Club, the perfect combination of baseball and comfort. Learn more at twinsbaseball.com or at 1-800-33-TWINS. Escobar at third, Fold at first, nobody out. And Yervis Medina will come in a tough spot with Brian Dozier, the first man he'll face.
Well, he needs a strikeout. His manager, Lloyd McClendon, needs a strikeout. This guy can do it. 31 strikeouts in 31 innings. He's pitched very, very well out of the bullpen. We talked about how good the whole staff has been, starting and relieving staff for the Mariners. This guy won a
middle infielders playing in about halfway, trying to, I guess, both protect against the run scoring, but also if it's a slowly hit ball, going ahead and getting the double play.
Well, they'll go for two if it's hit hard at the middle infielders. They'll get two, and if they don't believe they can get a double play, they'll charge and come home with it.
And strike one. Three runs have scored in this series, all on solo home runs. Needless to say, neither team has done well with men in scoring position, either last night or tonight. The teams are a combined 0 for 8 tonight. One strike. That's to right field down the line, a foul ball, and no hit on the play. Ball goes about 3 rows back. And Dozier in a tough spot now, 0-2. Again, the Twins had chances with second and third and one out last night. Similar spot in the ball game in the 7th inning, and Colabello hitting a one-hopper to the third baseman when the Mariners were conceding a run. Dozier's a tough time making contact in this series, hoping to get one to the outfield here. 2 strikes. And Medina throws to first. Up and back into the seats.
It's a situation right here when if you're Brian Dozier trying to get the runner in from third, you really want to spend most of the at bat letting the ball travel a long ways, hopefully get a ball out over the plate or a breaking ball. If you're looking for the ball out over the plate, looking to hit it to center field, you can stay with that breaking ball. All he needs to do is hit the ball medium deep to center field. Just stay with it, stay in the center of the diamond.
Inside. Seems to me the guys who are the best at this, from Miguel Cabrera all the way down, really focus on hitting the ball to the opposite field and never trying to pull the ball.
Right, and the reason that they do that is because if they can get on the fastball speed and try to hit that ball back over the plate to center or right field, then they won't get fooled on the breaking ball so much. It takes almost every pitch out of play.
There goes Fold, and the pitch tap foul at the plate. There's a guy here who's pretty good at it too, Edgar Martinez.
Oh, he was the best. He was the absolute best because he never was in a hurry to pull the ball in that situation. Now, when a breaking ball showed up, the natural speed of the ball would speed up the big end of his bat and he'd hit it to left field. But he got on fastball speed, tried to hit the ball to right center, and then just adjusted to everything else. But if you're trying to pull the ball, it means you have to get the bat hit out in front early, and that makes you vulnerable to outside pitches, to off-speed pitches, curveballs, and changeups. Hit the ball out over the plate, hit the ball to center or right field, and then adjust. That was the problem with Colabello's at bat that you talked to. He went up there looking to look like he was on fastball speed. He got a breaking ball and hit over the top of it to the third baseman. About the only place he could hit the ball and not get the run in.
1-2 to Dozier. Checked again.
If you're trying to hit the ball to center and right field on fastball speed, then the only pitch you're vulnerable on is a perfect fastball in the inside corner. You might get jammed. If you're trying to pull the ball, you're vulnerable to about 5 other different pitches, and it's just a question of odds there for you.
Full goes, and the pitch is inside. There'll be no throw. Well, that'll change things significantly. With runners at second and third, nobody out. We'll see if the Mariners bring the infield all the way in here now. Third stolen base for the Twins here tonight. And 2-2 to Dozier. Mariners bring the infield in.
They have to now in the 8th inning in a low-scoring ball game, as well as these starting pitchers have been, as well as Hughes has thrown, as good as Lloyd McClendon knows that the Twins bullpen is. He can't just give up the second run. He's got to try to cut that. He can't give up a run on an easy ground ball someplace. He's got to bring the infield in.
2-2. And now 3-2. Nunez on deck. Medina, 31 innings, 15 walks, 2 of those intentional. And Zunino to the mound.
Now this conversation ought to be, I don't know what they're talking about, but here's what I think it ought to be. Got first base open. Don't give in to the hitter here. If you walk him, it sets up a force at any base, and we'll get the next guy. Don't just throw him a fastball down the middle because it's 3-2. And Brian's got to know that. He's in the same situation. If he's trying to hit the ball to center field, right field, he's only vulnerable on the inside pitch, inside corner. And with 3-2, I think that's worth those odds.
Dozier to left center field. And a running catch by Ackley. Tagging and scoring is Escobar. And Dozier makes it a 2-0 ball game.
Very good at bat by Brian. The ball got in on him a little bit because he was trying to stay in the center of the diamond. But because he hit the ball, he was trying to go towards center field. He hit it to the inside pitch to left center. Made Ackley go to his left, made it a tougher. See that pitch right there, he wasn't trying to get the bat head out, just do the best he can, hit it to center field. Ackley has to go to left, away from his throwing arm, and then throw back across, which makes it very, very difficult for him to make an accurate throw. Nice at bat by Brian Dozier. Good decision by Joe Vavra to have Escobar go ahead and try to get that run. And both guys successful in their jobs there.
A busted bat and a roller to short. And Nunez is thrown out number 2, and Fuld kind of gotten away with one there. The Mariners taking the sure out, but Fuld scampered to third on the ground ball in front of him. 2 down. That'll bring up Suzuki. Suzuki 0 for 3.
So that was an interesting play. Most times you're right, a shortstop would go to third there and get Fuld trying to take that base in front of the ground ball. I think the ball was hit too slow for as deep as Miller was playing there. And if had there been nobody out, I think he might have tried to get him to third. But now they've got 2 out. Take the sure out at first base for the second out, and have your pitcher try to get Suzuki for the third out.
Well, the Twins have added 1 run here on and out. Suzuki trying to get the first hit for either team in this series with a man in scoring position.
Right, first hit, but a good at bat with a runner in scoring position for Dozier. Good sacrifice fly. That's a big run.
And Suzuki takes inside 1-1. It's hit the ball in the air three times, and that's not what we've seen from Kurt too often in the first half. Fouling out to Morrison. An outfield fly to Jones and an infield pop up to Miller. Folded third with 2 down. Old single opened the scoring chance for the Twins here in the 8th after the leadoff walk to Escobar. Tap foul, 2-2. Happy with the result of that swing, or perhaps thought that ball was low and ball 3. Two. Bouncer to short. Miller has it. And the Twins get an insurance run, taking advantage of the leadoff walk. That's 2-0. And Phil Hughes has had a great night on the mound. Brad Miller will lead things off in the 8th for Seattle. He'll be followed by Michael Saunders and James Jones. Miller with a couple of outfield flies. There's a pop-up near second base. Dozier coming in. And a quick first out here in the 8th. And before Saunders at bat, can you beat the best? Join millions of players now on the only official home run derby mobile game from MLB.com. Square off against your friends from around the world live in multiplayer derby mode. Climb to the top of the leaderboards. Download today for free on the Apple App Store and Google Play. And as fun as that must be, imagine Brian Dozier in the real home run derby being pitched to by his brother.
Imagine being his brother.
Who's been an accountant and apparently hasn't done much baseball activity for 5 years.
I think that's cruel of Brian. I think it's absolutely cruel. There's going to be hundreds of millions of people watching, expecting his brother.
Saunders grounding a single to right.
Yep.
1 out single, and before Jones comes to the plate, let's hear from Brian about having his brother pitch to him in the home run derby.
It's gonna be funny. It really is. I told him a few days ago, or about a week ago, that I got wind that I could be one of the finalists, whatever, to do it. And I've talked to him every day since, and he's been throwing in the yard against the screen. So that's trying to loosen up his arm again. So he played college ball and stuff. So he's well aware of how to throw and that kind of thing. So I'm just hoping that he calms the nerves a little bit. So
here is Jones, and he fouls the first pitch back. And we've seen here in the 8th inning, the Mariners tried to do what the Yankees successfully did. They're trying to ambush Phil Hughes. Miller popped up on the first pitch. Saunders, I think, on the second pitch. Maybe the first got his single. And Jones went after the first pitch here in the 8th.
Right, and there's no reason to wait. There really isn't. He's coming right at you. He's proven that over the course of this game and over the course of the season. And you throw 80% strikes, and most of them first pitch strikes. You got to swing it. Yep.
He's hit to center, and Cano will come up with 2 men aboard. Speedy runner at first represents the tying run. First and second, 1 down. Cano 1 for 3 against his former teammate Phil Hughes. And here comes Ron Gardenhire. It might be written down someplace, but it's a unwritten rule technically. Managers don't like starters this late in the game being in position where they can be beaten. And now with 2 men aboard, Gardenhire does not want Phil Hughes facing the go-ahead run. And Hughes gives up a couple of hits quickly in the 8th. With 1 out, he'll come off the mound. Bullpen has been very, very good. It hasn't amounted or totaled up into as many wins as you would like, but nevertheless very good.
They've been outstanding right from the long guys like Swarzak and Duduno through the middle relief to Glenn Perkins there at the end. They've been terrific.
Twins bringing in right-hander Casey Fiend, and within this matchup, tip of the cap to Cano, who hits lefties about as well as righties. There's really no advantage in bringing a lefty in, so the Twins bringing in their most trusted 8th inning arm, Casey Fiend.
And Cano has at bats against all the guys out there. He's 0 for 2 against Fiend. He's 1 for 1 against Thielbar, 5 for 15 against Dunsing. So he's gotten hits against the left-handers in the Twins bullpen. Manager Ron Gardenhire knows that. Opts to go with who he thinks is his best 8th inning guy right now.
First and second, 1 down. And the first pitch strike. Cano with 6 home runs in his first year with Seattle, half of them here at Safeco Field. Tonight, a single, a line out to left, and a ground ball to Dozier. Cano has hit into 9 ground ball double plays. That leads the Mariner team.
A good hitter is going to hit into a bunch of double plays. That's just the way it's going to be, because the good hitters are up with guys on base a lot. They hit the ball hard. Some of those are going to be at the fielders and turn into double plays. Let's hope that's what happens right here.
Chopper to Dozier. Tagging, throwing, double play. And Casey Fiend gets the job done. Catching the first hop, tagging the runner, and a quick flip to Colabello, and the Twins are off the field in the 8th.
Really good play by Brian Dozier. Just barely tag and flip for the double play.
Twins lost last night 2-0. Brian Dozier with a heads-up play, remembering that James Jones is very fast, and Dozier was able to get the tag on him just in time.
Yeah, the good play here was charging it so he could cut off Jones's route to second base, and just barely able to nip Cano at first. His other option here, now when you run him back, if you don't think you're going to be able to tag and flip, he's got him running back so much to first. You can throw it behind the runner, get Cano at first, and then you have Jones in a rundown. But this play where where the play at first is a force, much preferred if you can make that happen.
Kendrys Morales will hit as a right-handed batter against a guy who very briefly was with the Twins, left-hander Joe Beimel. Beimel will face the middle of the Twins lineup, Morales, Willingham, and Arcia. Down low, ball one.
Morales with a couple of pretty good at-bats here. Hopefully that will get him going a little bit. He really hit a line double over the one hop over the right center field fence, and then hit a deep fly ball to center. Two pretty good swings. Hopefully that'll get him going.
Swing on this, 1-1.
Sometimes it really doesn't take too much for a good hitter of Morales' pedigree and history. Sometimes it's just one good swing, and then your body kind of relaxes and falls back into what it knows how to do.
Busted his bat, but he'll take the hit.
And broken bat hits help an awful lot too.
So a leadoff hit here in the 9th. The only name I could come up with on our carsoup.com trivia is Johnny Moses.
Yeah, that's a good call, but boy, I'm stumped about the other ones.
Brett Boone didn't play long enough. Well, Eddie Guardado, Bob Wells, Steve Braun I never would have gotten, but I should have gotten the pitchers. I guess I was just thinking of position players. So we got one right. And Eric Fryer running for Kendrys Morales. And the pinch running move here, Fryer in for Morales, would, I think, suggest that Chris Herman's in the house someplace. as the only other catcher the Twins had. Probably wouldn't be used here, I wouldn't think, unless Herman was available to perhaps to catch an emergency bases, and Fryer almost got picked off.
And when you have absolutely no chance of getting the steal sign from your manager and you get picked off, that's a bad thing. You can't. You must not be picked off in this situation.
Willingham looking for his first hit, a fly ball and a pair of strikeouts. I don't think there's anything, at least from what we've seen, that's too deceptive about Bimel's move. From the time he picks his leg up, all his momentum is toward first base, not home plate.
Right.
Down low ball. Even Bimel has pitched well for the Mariners, and I say that with no disrespect, but the people who are covering the Mariners say they've never seen a team where everybody in the bullpen is pitching lights out. Strike on the outside corner, 1-1.
That's a great luxury for a manager, especially when your starting pitchers are pitching as deeply into the ball game as they are for Lloyd McClendon's Mariners. That's what has them 9 games over 500. There's no question. It's not that they're beating the ball around the yard. They're just pitching great.
And a strike on the inside corner, 1-2. You can see the Twins have done well since June 20th, but the Mariners nearly a full run lower in terms of bullpen ERA. 1-2 to the Twins left fielder. That's hit to left. And Willingham backs up. Morales is single with one of his own, first and second. Nobody out for Arcia. As promised earlier in the game, we have the AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photo to hashtag NorthFanPhoto for a chance to be shown in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by AT&T. And Bert will circle you again when the second half of the season gets started after the All-Star break. Arcia 0 for 3, a strikeout and a couple of outfield flies. To Cano. And another double play. Each team has turned 2. And Fryer advances to third. Each team has turned 2 twice.
And that double play right there, pretty ho-hum looking. But watch him charge this ball. Short hopping from the side. Not a problem. Had it all the way. This is a nice play. Charge it, short hop it, flip.
And Arcia now just 5 hits, 40 at bats against left-handers. Here is Colabello, 1 for 3. Colabello slowly bringing his average back up. And he's going to be walked. His dad is here. Came all the way out to Seattle.
Yep.
From the East Coast. And they're walking them.
Do they not know? Come on. That's really, really not hospitable. But I met Lou Colabello today. Wonderful guy. And told him how much I enjoy watching his son play. And he said, "Oh, do you?" He said, "I'm living and dying with every pitch." And I said, "You know what? That's just the job of a dad when you're watching your kids perform."
Shame of it all is Colabello was down in Rochester when the Twins were at Fenway Park. And the Colabello's New Englanders. And I would imagine that even Lou Colabello, if he has to return to Massachusetts and is asked about Chris's experience out here, he said, "Yeah, they intentionally walked my son in the 9th inning." That's not too bad either.
That's pretty good.
Here's Escobar. Drew a leadoff walk in the 8th and came around to score the second run. You'd think, wouldn't you, that one of these teams would get a hit with a man in scoring position? At some point, it'll happen.
One of these times. It might be right here.
Nearly 2 full games without. Of course, there haven't been too many men in scoring position in the series either. But the Twins started the inning with a pair of singles. Now first and third, 2 down. And that's a throw to first. My son was intentionally walked in the 9th inning. And then they threw to first because they thought he might steal.
Well, if the guys back home didn't believe the first statement, they really didn't believe the second.
And outside, 1-1. Mariners are due to send up the middle of their lineup, meaning Seager, Morrison, and Chavez in the bottom of the 9th. Would like to add at least one more here in the top of the inning. Wave and a miss, 1-2. It was the end of the 2004 season. Joe Beimel was with the team and the Twins and got into 3 games. Didn't have much success. Inning in 2/3, 8 hits, 2 walks, a home run. And his Twins career ended with an ERA of 43.20. That was 10 years ago. Escobar strikes out. Beimel pitches out of the jam. It'll be a 2-0 lead for Twins All-Star Glenn Perkins, trying to get his first save since the announcement yesterday that he'll be at Target Field for the All-Star game. Last night, Fernando Rodney extended his American League lead in saves, getting his 26. Tonight, Glenn Perkins will try to pick up number 21. Right now, he is 4th in the league in saves, behind Rodney, Greg Holland of Kansas City, David Robertson of the Yankees.
Well, he's been about as secure a closer as you can have the last couple of years, has been Glenn Perkins, and it allows manager Ron Gardenhire to start with him at the back end. If you get to the ninth inning with the lead, he's going to close it out almost all the time. It really sets up the rest of the pitching staff.
First pitch fouled, and chasing it down, making a sliding catch, Eduardo Nunez. A great play by the Twins' third baseman, sliding on the warning track.
What a terrific play by Nunez. It looks like he has it under control, but he goes down to his backside to make sure. I don't think he knew exactly where he was relative to the fence, maybe. I thought he was going to be able to catch it on his feet over the shoulder, but he went down to the seat of his pants and his back to make sure. That really nice play to stay with it concentration-wise all the way into the glove.
Another left-handed batter, Logan Morrison, facing Perkins for the first time. Outside, ball one. When the Bloomquist is in the on-deck circle, he will hit for Chavez. One and 0 to Morrison. Strike on the outside corner. In the middle of the lineup, Cano, Seager, Morrison, all left-handed batters, and you understand why the Mariners feel if they're going to get into postseason play, they need some help from the right side. Foul away, 1-2. Century linked to what's next. Kyle Gibson going to the mound for the Twins. Roenis Elias going for the Mariners. Some of the numbers for those two young pitchers. 1-2. The short center won't even get there. Escobar with the catch. 2 away. And that'll bring up Willie Bloomquist. In part because he's been around for a long time and has been an extra player on a lot of his teams. Bloomquist has quite a bit of history and some success against Glenn Perkins. 4 hits, 11 at bats, and a home run. Chavez pinch ran for Hart, never did come to the plate. Both moves for the Mariners among position players in the DH spot tonight. And the first pitch fastball, 94 miles per hour at the knees.
On the inside corner, just where Glenn Perkins likes to pitch. And it's very effective throwing it in there to set up breaking ball, but he's got a good fastball tonight. Bloomquist, kind of the classic utility guy, isn't he? Just can play anywhere. It's a tough out at the plate.
One hop backhanded by Escobar. Long throw, and the Twins answer. An opening loss to the Mariners 2-0 last night with a 2-0 win here tonight. Good ball game for the Twins. Anthony LaPanta, a couple of well-pitched ball games. Tonight it was the Twins and their number 9 hitter that had a big night at the plate, and the Twins won it 2-0.